This video provides an overview of Recommendation 3 from the Using Technology to Support Postsecondary Student Learning Practice Guide. It includes a description of the recommendation and its implementation steps. Recommendation 3 advises postsecondary instructors that there is evidence of statistically significant positive effects on student achievement when students are supported by technologies that promote self-regulation. Knowing how to manage one's own learning processes is an integral part of learning effectively. Some students gain these self-regulation skills prior to enrolling in college, but many do not. And those who don't may struggle in college, where instructor supervision can be minimal and students have considerable autonomy in their educational activities. Being able to self-regulate one's learning is especially important in computer-based learning environments and activities because these environments often have less guidance and support from instructors. What does it mean to be self-regulated? Self-regulated learners understand and control their own learning. They leverage their metacognitive skills to monitor their own thinking. They are also skilled in using a variety of learning strategies. They have high levels of self-efficacy, knowing that they have control over their behaviors and they have a high motivation to learn. Let's look more closely at each of these traits. Self-regulated learners are metacognitive. That means learners can think about their own thinking. They are able to articulate the reasons for their actions, how they feel during learning experiences, and what rules or procedures they are following during their learning. Self-regulated learners also have a sense of self-efficacy. They believe in their own ability to do what is needed to achieve success. They feel confident in their ability to put their motivations and behaviors in service of their goals. Self-regulated learners have various learning strategies at the ready. They know how and when to set goals. They know how and when to organize information, how and when to code, not as in computer coding, but as in applying categories to information, and how and when to rehearse information, for example, how and when to recite, memorize, and explain information to oneself or others to ensure better retention and recall when needed. They know how and when to monitor, evaluate, and perhaps correct their learning progress and process. And they know how and when to seek help and how to plan and manage their time so that they are able to reach their goals. Finally, self-regulated learners are motivated to learn and use that motivation to propel their learning forward. They have the energy and drive to learn and to get better at learning. To help post-secondary instructors incorporate technology that models and fosters self-regulated learning strategies, the practice guide outlines 4 key implementation steps. The first implementation step is to select tools and technologies that serve as scaffolds to help students apply self-regulated learning strategies. The first part of choosing a scaffold is to be very clear on what goal you want students to accomplish with regard to self-regulated learning. Then select tools and technologies with interactive interfaces that scaffold that skill development. For example, insert prompts that encourage students to self-monitor throughout online learning activities, which encourages them to organize their thinking while learning. The second implementation step is to model how to use self-regulated learning strategies and provide students with opportunities to practice self-regulated learning strategies using technology. It is likely that at least some students will need instruction on self-regulated learning strategies, including what they are, why they are important, and how to use them. Instructors should provide explicit guidance and examples of strategies and behaviors used by students who successfully navigated the course in previous semesters. Students may benefit from first observing this self-regulated learning strategy in action, then emulating it with support, then executing a particular strategy on their own when told to do so, before they are expected to self-identify when they need to use the strategy and executing it independently. The third implementation step is to select technologies that feature tutoring or mentoring components to support students in using self-regulated learning strategies. Tutoring and mentoring can be especially helpful for students in online and blended learning courses because they can provide the modeling and opportunities for supported practice students need to develop their self-regulated learning skills. Some technologies with intelligent tutoring embedded in them are promising alternatives to in-person tutoring. The fourth implementation step is to assess whether the selected technologies are effectively supporting students in their use of self-regulated learning strategies. As with implementing any recommendation, it is important to assess how well your approach is working. Because many technologies do track students' engagement with specific activities and functions, instructors can monitor students' use and see if there is an association between use and performance. The same usage data can also be used to help students see how often their classmates are interacting with materials and supports. Instructors can also poll students to determine if they perceive the supports as helpful. During the synchronous session of this course, you'll spend time discussing these implementation steps and collaboratively developing ideas for using technology to support self-regulation in students. To prepare for these discussions, take a few minutes to reflect on the following questions. How are you actively supporting students becoming self-regulated learners? Are you using technology to help you do this? Which approaches have been the most effective? What else might you try? This document was prepared under Contract ED-IES-22-C-0009 by Regional Educational Laboratory Northwest, administered by WestEd. The content does not necessarily reflect the views or policies of IES or the U.S. Department of Education, nor does mention of trade names, commercial products, or organizations imply endorsement by the U.S. government.